Alright, today I've got a review of the USS San Diego. I figured some people might be interested in what kind of ship it is, considering that it's available as the prize for the current Arctic Convoy operations. I picked up the San Diego roughly a year ago. I typically get 2 Dragoon ships per year with our 25% off coupon that we get, and last year this is one of the 2 that I decided to pick up. The USS San Diego is an Atlanta-class cruiser. That being said, it's got an ABC XYZ turret layout with 1 extra in the middle. I don't know what letter you'd assign to that, but you can end up getting a total of 7 turrets on target at a time, or a total of 14 shells fired per salvo, which is pretty nice.
Enemy force detected.
Kind of one of the gimmicks of the USS San Diego is that it gets access to sap and armor-piercing shells. I will say that the lack of high explosive shells is kind of a downside in my opinion. I personally would have traded the armor-piercing shells for high explosive any day of the week. That's just my personal preference. I feel like the high explosive really helps a lot with dealing with heavily armored targets that you can't pierce with either the sap or the armor piercing. Regardless, in this first match here, we will have a very, very typical USS San Diego experience. One of the big issues with this being an Atlanta-class cruiser is that its armor is non-existent. I think most of it is covered in like 16mm armor, so even less than a lot of destroyers. And I think the superstructure of this ship is even less, like 13mm of armor. So one of the nice things about that is that you will get overpenned a lot, so you can kind of avoid taking full pens that way, even if you're like flat broadside, but basically almost any ship in the game has some value from the front. So right here, kind of opening up, and this is how you want to play the USS San Diego. You really can't play it open water at all. We'll get to see more of that downside in the next match. But here we got a really good island that we're just kind of sitting behind, and this is kind of it. You just sit here and you lob dozens of shells at a time at targets. You can see we did our rapid reload there. The rapid reload booster on the San Diego is only a 33% boost that only lasts for 15 seconds, so the base reload is 5 seconds. 33% off of that. A lot of shells out. A little bit quicker, but honestly it doesn't make a huge difference. So I tend to use the reload boosters a little less stingently in this ship, just since it doesn't make as big of a difference as the ships that get the 50% boost, especially with how short a time this lasts. So we used it on that broadside battleship that we were shooting at. And we got a little bit of, I mean, we're already up to 40,000 damage, so we're doing decent. If you've been paying attention to our actual shell hits and stuff, we've actually been mostly getting full pens, which is nice. We haven't been ricocheting too many shells. The sap shells on this get 36mm of pen, so that's good for shooting at especially like American battleships that are pretty much covered in 32mm plating everywhere. You can overmatch, or you can penetrate that.
Anti-aircraft gun cruiser on full alert.
This ship absolutely shreds aircraft. You can see we popped our anti-air, our DFFA, and did our priority lock-on. And there is a destroyer right over there. I'm just trying to kind of do a little bit of blind fire and ban that plane from spotting us. As you can see, this is typical San Diego experience. We were sitting behind an island, seemed like we were pretty well covered, but someone just clipped right above that island and at least got 1 citadel on us, if not 2. Another downside is we only have 27,000 health, so not a whole lot to work with. You can really take 1 to maybe 2 citadels from those ships. Regardless, the San Diego actually can heal back quite a bit of health, which is nice. So we will be able to pop off a couple of heals before we start taking more damage. We can see this cheeky little ship trying to poke out here. I got a little concerned there because I had just been firing at the destroyer, and I didn't really want to get spotted by this guy because that probably would be the end of us, so we're just backing up a little bit.
I'm on it!
You can see our teammate called out that guy, and I agree. I really wanted to shoot at him, so I backed up a little bit and opened fire, and unfortunately still got spotted. I don't think it was by him. I think it's by the destroyer that's spotting us. But he is backing up enough that he can't shoot over that island, but we can shoot over at him. So we get in a little bit of extra damage here. We're up to 54,000, so we're doing pretty good. And considering how many shells we can shoot in a very short amount of time, we actually haven't gotten to shoot that many, or because we really don't have a whole lot of shell hits yet. But we're kind of locked down on this island now. We do have that destroyer that keeps spotting us over in that direction that we're facing now. And then obviously we've got these two battleships here. So really not a whole lot that we can do here. And that's really one of the big problems with the San Diego, is that you kind of easily get locked down onto islands and you just have such little armor that you literally can't afford to be spotted out in the open ever. All it takes is one stray shell, and it's most likely going to Citadel because your Citadel stretches most of your ship. We are actually doing okay at trying to help with this destroyer. It's kind of at the close to our max range, but we're getting in quite a few hits. The shelf lifetime on the San Diego is decently good enough that you can shoot at destroyers from moderate distance away to almost our max range and still score quite a few hits. So we helped out a little bit there with that destroyer. I just launched some ASW over there just to kind of see if the destroyer there had his AA guns on, and it didn't seem like he did, so I was hoping that he would maybe smoke them and start shooting at us anyways. Again, I'm just going to take some blind shots here. Our base detect is only like 9.2 or 9.3 kilometers, so it's very, very difficult for the other ships to be able to see us. And that's a really nice thing, because the smoke fire penalty is also pretty low. So that destroyer will not be able to spot us by destroying. This battleship, the Missouri, keeps trying to push up over and over again. I pushed out just a little too far there, got a little scared that he was going to dead strike me, so I start backing up. I really wanted to find that like perfect little angle that I could fire off all of my guns, but again, I'm just kind of in this awkward position where I'm like pinched by the destroyer on one side and this Missouri on the other, trying to push up. So I settle for just getting my front 3 turrets off on him, and despite that, we're still getting like 2,000 damage, give or take, per salvo. So it's going to take a while to whittle him down, but we will whittle him down. I did pop my Hydro here. I've been kind of worried this whole match, ever since I realized that destroyer was hanging out there, that he's going to launch some torps at us. And pretty soon here, I think he does. Missouri is still trying to push up, so just launching more shells at him. The torps that we have are practically unusable. I think they actually can deal quite a bit of damage if you manage to hit them, but the issue is that they only have 4.5 kilometers range, so if you're within 4.5 kilometers of anything, in this ship with no armor, you've got bigger issues. I don't think the torpedoes are going to save you in a scenario like that, but maybe you'll get a nice revenge on the enemy after they sink you. That being said, in the next match we will have a pretty awesome kill that we'll get, but we'll get through this one first. I did get a nice little angle here where I am getting most of my turrets over that island, still clipping a few shells on it, but we're dealing a bit more damage to that Missouri. Still really worried because he wants to push up, and you can tell. I do pop my reload booster here just because I'm hoping that I can finish him off, or at least get really close so my team can finish him off. You can see it makes a little bit of a difference, but I mean, it's not anything huge. It's It's not going to save your life. I mean, honestly, even in opportunistic situations, it's really not going to make or break that big of a difference, especially considering that if the enemy's shooting at you, you're probably going to die, and bam, there we go. He flipped just right over that island. We got spotted by the planes there, and that was it. That was enough to take us out. But let's move on to the next clip, and then we'll see how things go. So moving on to the second clip here, again, we had double up tiered into tier 10, but so is Matchmaker. The San Diego can actually really slap pretty hard if it gets double down tiered to tier 6. Its 14.8 kilometers of range is really manageable at that level because you're pretty much on par with all the other ships, if not a little bit farther than some of the cruisers at that range. So it really does well when you get down tiered. Both of these matches, us getting up tiered is probably good for showing you its weakest points, but despite that, it can still hold its own even at tier 10. You just have to be extra careful. This map here, I really was not a fan of our spawn. I mean, I'm never a fan of this map, but especially since the San Diego relies so heavily on island cover, really the only viable island was this one that we're headed towards right now. I was really concerned that we were going to get spotted by someone before we made it to that island, and that we'd just get dev struck right off the beginning. And that's definitely a risk. That's where that kind of 9.3 kilometer detect comes in clutch. So we are able to make it to this island safely. But even still, I'm just not really sure what I want to do here. This is just really not the best island for us to be up against. We're really not protected at all from anything that goes towards the A cap, so I'm concerned that we'll get sniped at from over in that direction. We're really not in a good position on this island, regardless of where we go around it, to really support the B cap that well. So really the only cap that we can make much of a difference at is the C cap.
I'm sorry, but...
And our Shimakaze over by the C cap is just hugging the line and currently not spotting the destroyer that's in C, so... I'm, unfortunately not going to be able to do really anything at this moment in the match to support over there, so... I see those torps there. I'm not sure who shot those. I figured that there must be a destroyer over by B.
Torpedoes
Ended up
dead
being
ahead.
incorrect, but I decided that I'll go over there and kind of support this Minotaur. The Minotaur did pop his radar and really didn't spot anything of consequence, so I'm still, at this point in the battle, just really not sure what to do. The only ships in range are the Key over there by A-cap. And then some ships that are behind the island towards C, so not a whole lot of options for us. I thought maybe I'd get up here on the edge of this island and kind of launch some shells. You see, like, I wanted to launch shells over in that direction, but then I'm looking over here at this Key, who I thought was going to kind of head closer towards A and go behind that island, and I realize he's not. He's heading out
Torpedoes to starboard!
and so I really can't afford to open up here because he'll one-shot me. Regardless, at this point in the match, I'm just getting a little bit antsy because I've literally been useless to my team. So I end up deciding here in a second that, screw it, I'm just going to open up, and this is like the worst scenario that you would ever want to be in San Diego, is open watering anything, let alone a battleship with 410mm guns. So, but that Key's getting a little bit closer to half health, and I figure, forget it, let's just see what happens. So, in just a second here, I open up, I pop the reload booster, not that it's going to make that huge difference, and I just start raining sap shells on them. And, I'm really not getting great hits on this Key. I should be shooting a little bit closer towards its superstructure instead of that part. I thought he was going to keep reversing there. He did fire at us, and that wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. That was, almost half of our health. He fires more at us. Luckily, it kind of pulled that in. And there, now we're down to a third health because, we got hit by sap shells. So, only did 7,000 damage there. Really was just a terrible trade-off, but, you know, I was getting bored and impatient and wanted to do something. But that's okay. We're going to kind of salvage it here. The key's getting low. You know, I can't remember if I get this kill or not. I really wasn't trying to kill steal here. Yeah, I was just getting bored. But I do end up getting this one there. Definitely did. Sorry to the teammates. But now the enemy is kind of pushing far enough into C, and they're actually getting spotted that we can maybe start to support here a little bit. So I look around, just make sure that no one's behind us that's going to start shooting at us. Seems like we're good, so I start just firing at these destroyers. And again, our shell arcs are, you know, not the best in the world. They're not lasers, but they're good enough that we can actually semi-reliably hit destroyers from a decent distance away, especially when they're paying us absolutely zero attention and not making any efforts to dodge our shots. Unfortunately, they both go dark there. Didn't get a whole lot of opportunity to shoot, and then this one kind of rolls around the corner, and here we go. We can open up on this guy for a little bit. We definitely get a few hits. I mean, it's a noticeable amount of damage. Like, we're actually helping here a little bit. Not as much as I'd like to, but, you know, it is making a difference. And that, again, is definitely not trying to kill steal there. But one of our teammates got a really big hit on that destroyer and just happened to clip him for the last little bit of damage. I tried to help out here with this destroyer. I thought he was going to push out farther. Doesn't, and I start trying to just blind fire him over this island. I don't think I land any of those shots. Even if I did, it wouldn't do a whole lot of damage. Then, now the rest of the fleet over on that side is starting to push forward. And this is kind of a scenario that you want to be in with San Diego. We have decent island cover. Currently, there's no one at the A flank that can spot us. And we've got teammates that are spotting fleet heading towards us. We do have some forts coming. That's an issue. I just barely missed that one. I have to miss it. I have to go a little too far behind this island, so for a second here I won't be able to shoot this battleship pushing up towards us, but that's okay. But I kind of back up here. That battleship keeps pushing forward, and we keep getting a few shots off on him. Now, right here, I thought he was just going to keep going around that island, but it seems like he stops for a while. I realize here also that we've only got that one destroyer. I think it's the Shimakaze over on this flank with us. It looked like that Shimakaze landed a couple torps on that battleship. I couldn't quite tell if that was the battleship or if that was the island. I'm hoping it was the battleship. I launched some ASW just to see, did he roll out from behind that island? Where is this guy? And for a second it seemed like he wasn't there. And then I think I finally saw his AA guns. And this is where I see this Arctic or whatever ship pushing him towards us. And that's an issue. That's a big issue. So I popped Hydro. I think that our ship detect range on our Hydro is really trash. I think it's only like 3.5 kilometers or something like that. So we're not going to spot him with that. We would only spot him if he were just hugging that island. I do load up the armor-piercing shells here, and I'm just hoping that he's gonna indulge me and roll out broadside to us, because if he does, this is one of the few scenarios that you can handle open watering someone, and here he goes. And this is where we shine. We pop the reload booster, armor-piercing. I'm panicking a little. I'm making not the best shots. Decent, not the best. And look, we just shred in like 10 seconds or less. Bam. All of his health. Honestly, I didn't even consider the possibility that he could have launched torps at me. I don't think he did, but I didn't even consider that possibility until now. And now we're getting pushed by the rest of the team. I thought here about staying dark, but then I realized they're only like 6 kilometers away from me. They're going too fast. I'm just stuck here, so I just try to get in some last minute damage. I don't know what was my lock-on was kind of being right there, but we'll figure, we get absolutely destroyed. despite that, it seems like our team is doing pretty well. They should be able to clean up the rest of this match on their own. It's like what is that, like a 7-4 or something? And we've got plenty of destroyers left to take care of their 2 destroyers, so that match should be a win for us. Really, the only kill that we earned there was that last one against that cruiser, and we definitely, I mean, we took his whole health out in like 10 seconds, but that is like a beautiful example of where the San Diego shines in close range. That's the only time that you can deal with open water gunboating anyone. But yeah, it's honestly kind of a beautiful little Atlanta ship. I'm running Bumblebee on him. You can see how thin this paper thin this armor is. That citadel above water stretches the whole length of the ship. You're just going to catch citadels from everywhere. So best scenario is that you hide behind an island basically the whole match. But that's not always possible, like in that last one. So you got to do what you got to do. Honestly, if I was thinking a little more on my feet, I should have tried to launch some torps in their direction. Again, it wouldn't have saved me, but they were pushing up pretty quickly. They might have run into a few of those torps, but you live and you learn, and you watch these playbacks and you beat yourself up on them. But we've got pretty good anti-air, pretty good maneuverability, 32.5 knots, great detect. For equipment, I've just got like a really standard build. I don't have many flags, so I'd save them for ranked. That 33% reload booster, and the captain build that we've got, we'll look at in a second. I think I'm running the wrong captain on this ship. I've got so many captains now, I'm not sure. Either way, you should be running on the 3rd line down, far left. You should be running that one, not this one, because you don't even have high explosive to benefit. But if you run this one, you get plus 10% damage to your sap shells. So that's just a straight 10% buff to your damage output. So you do lose some of your detect, or maybe you don't. I think the guns are small enough that you just literally get no debuff. Anyways, you should run that. I just think I have the wrong captain. Anyways, that's the San Diego. I definitely recommend that you go after it, but it's a great ship. 10 out of 10 recommend. Yeah, you should pursue it, especially since you can get it for free from operations. All right, catch you guys next time.